Hi everyone, I'm just going to do a quick video to explain why I've moved from Fujifilm to Sony APSC. Most people go the opposite direction. They would go from Sony to Fujifilm, and the reason would be that they enjoy the extra controls you get with a Fujifilm. This is the XE2, my favorite Fujifilm camera. I have had newer models, more expensive models, but this is the one I always come back to. The XE2 is 16 megapixels, and it's the last Fujifilm camera that has an EVF. It's got a left EVF with a 23 millimeter relief point, or eye relief point. I'm not sure exactly what you would call it. For most people, it doesn't seem to be an issue, this. I thought it was because I wore glasses, and maybe it's something to do with astigmatism, but I suspect it might be more to do with me having a large nose and my eyes being deep set in my head. So my eye isn't very close to the EVF. I wear glasses, so having a big nose, deep set eyes, and wearing glasses means I don't get very close to the EVF. So the 23 millimeter eye point that you get on this camera gives me a full, it gives me the full screen that's inside the EVF. If I use any other Fujifilm camera, even the premium ones that have a left EVF, and all of the budget lines that have an EVF, they use 17 millimeter eye points in their viewfinders, and I basically can't see the whole photo that I'm trying to take. I can't see the whole image inside. So I have to mess with my eye to try and get it lined up perfectly, and I end up not using the EVF very much. And then it's always like there's vignetting around the edge, cutting a lot of the image off. So actually I had an X Pro 2 last year, and I ripped off this rubber just to try and hope that there was a little bit more space behind the rubber thing, but there wasn't. Luckily I got it on and I managed to sell it. But I was using it like a Ricoh GR, a handheld camera, you know, where you hold it in front of you like this, instead of pulling it up to my eye and looking through the viewfinder. So that's why I've changed, because all Sony cameras have a 23 millimeter eye point. This is the A6000 line. So I started with the A6000, which is this one. I mean, it looks virtually the same as the one I've upgraded to. And this week I've upgraded to the A6400. I do put stickers on my cameras. I have done on the XE2 here as well. It's just something I do because I like stealthy street photography. So I might do it on this, or I might not, because yeah, we'll see how it goes. I've just bought it, so I don't really want to, muck it up at the moment. But this camera is just so much superior to any amazing new Fuji camera like an X100V or the X Pro 3 or the X Pro 2, just because it has a 23 millimeter eye point or eye relief. And that's basically, the eye relief is the distance from the little screen inside to your eye. That's the distance that you need to be to see the full image. And because I can't get my eye close enough, even an amazing camera like the X100V it's not useless to me, but it's just compromised. And like I said, I had the X Pro 2, and I was just using it like handheld, like holding it, at waist height instead of bringing it up to my eye. And this isn't even a good EVF, this thing. It's a low res one on the A6000. And it's very old. This came out in 2014, but it's just so much superior because I can at least see the whole image. So this happens with a few people, not a lot of people. I would guess probably 5% of people, maybe 10% of people have this issue. And for a lot of us, it's kind of okay. You can kind of live with it. But since I've moved, I'm just happy with the EVF. I love using the left EVF. It's so much more personable when you're using a camera for street photography, because you can smile at the people, and you know, they can see your whole face, and you can easily just move it to one side. So I've upgraded to you know, I've put both feet in now. I've let a Fujifilm camera go the other day. I'm keeping my XE2 because it's the best camera I've ever used. It's the best camera I will ever use, and I just love it. So I'm keeping that, but it is 16 megapixels. So I wanted something that focuses fast and has 50% more megapixels. I think 24 is a really nice sweet spot for photography. So yeah, this is 24 megapixels. This is 24 megapixels. This is the A6400, 24 megapixels. It's really not that much different from the old A6000, but it has faster autofocus, which is a big deal. I've only had it a week, and it's actually a bit complicated. I'm just still learning the ins and outs of the camera, but it's great. I love it. I love Sony now, and the reason why I love Sony is because of these awesome lenses, which you can get. They are coming out on Fuji. You've got the trio of 1.4 lenses. This is the 56. Look how small it is. I mean, that is just amazing. For an 85 1.8 equivalent lens on APS-C, that is so small and lightweight. And these cameras are even smaller than the XE line from Fuji. So you can get these lenses already. This is mid 2022, but this one you're going to have to wait till December if you use Fuji. This is the 18 to 50 Sigma f2.8. It's 290 grams. It's crazy how lightweight this is, and if you compare this to Fuji's equivalent, well, it's not the equivalent, but their 16 to 55 2.8. That thing is a brick. It's massive. This weighs 290 grams. On one of these cameras, it's so lightweight. So definitely, even if you're not going to switch to Sony, wait for this lens if you're sticking with Fuji, because it is so good. 18 to 55. It's better than the Fujifilm kit lens, the 18 to 55. Definitely, because I've had that lens for quite a while. I've also had the 16 to 50 f3.5 to 5.6 for Fuji. It's definitely better than that as well. The only thing that's not perfect with this is that it needs a lot of in-camera corrections. In fact, we're going off topic, aren't we here? I'm talking about lenses, so maybe I'll do another thing about that. So what I'm saying is I'm happy with the Sony lenses, even though there are only 4 lenses really, which is the trio, the 16, 30 and 56, and then the 18 to 50. I did want a pancake as well, so I was looking at the Sony 20mm f2.8. However, I decided to go with the Sigma 19mm f2.8 instead, because it's so much cheaper and it's optically superior, and it's really small. Check it out. So this thing cost me $80 used. It's very old. 19mm f2.8. It doesn't do continuous autofocus, but for single autofocus, it's good enough. So that's a really handy little lens for street photography. It kind of replaces the 18mm f2 I used to have for Fujifilm. But Fujifilm now, I've got this cheap sort of kit zoom telephoto lens, the 50 to 230, which it looks pristine because I hardly ever use it. I just use it for hardly anything. I take it into the garden once every year or something, and yeah, you know, occasionally I'll use it for a little bit of bird photography, but other than that, I'm just keeping the 27mm f 2.8 lens. So that's it. I'm using vintage lenses with Fuji because I love Fuji, and they go with this camera better because it's got the exposure compensation dial. It's got the shutter speed dial as well. Excuse me, I'm getting thirsty. So yeah, I'm just keeping this for the 27, which is a great pocketable setup. And yeah, I'll probably keep this lens around, even though I'm not really bothered about it. And then I've got a bunch of 50mm lenses like Super Takumar and a couple of L39 mount lenses. So that's for when I want to feel nostalgic. I mean, it's a bit like me keeping a film camera around. I've got one film camera that I barely ever use, which, you know, but I'm going to keep it around. I love that camera. But this is just so much more capable. I'm actually going to use this weekend at my brother's wedding. I'm not the pro photographer, but it's going to be good enough and small enough. I'm going to use this lens, I think, for most of the day, because 1.4 is too shallow depth of field at 56mm. So this lens is going to be awesome. With the onboard flash, it's going to be a perfect little lightweight setup. You get the flip up screen, which you've never got on the XE series. It was a real shame that you only got it on the XE4. I'd love to just be able to flip this up. And all I need is this. Just go up 90 degrees, that's it. It's nice to, if it goes down a bit as well, which they do, that's all I need. And Sony does that. So if you're thinking of moving as well for the same reason that you've got an issue with EVF, you will be quite happy with the A6000. Seriously, it cost, I can't remember how much I paid, £200, $300, something like that, maybe. I need to get a quote off MPB. I've just sold them two other things, the 16-50 Fuji lens and an XT10, which I never really used. And they gave me a really good price, so I'm not affiliating for them or anything, but that was a good website to use. So yeah, that's it. It's all about the EVF, the eye relief point, the eye point, whatever you want to call it. It's 23mm on Sony cameras, and it's 23mm on the quality central EVF Fujifilm cameras like the XT3 and the XH1 and the XH2 that's coming out. But the XT10, the XT20, the XT30, the XS10, all the other cameras have 16 or 17mm eye point. I mean, it's crazy how bad it is for people with glasses who have this issue. So yeah, I don't know if it's particularly me. I don't know if it's 5% of people, but there are a few people who have this issue. And the issue was really felt moving from the XE2 to the XE3. The XE3 had 17mm eye point, and it just ruined everything. This camera I look at and I cherish, even though it looks a bit tacky with the tape on. I just adore this camera so much. But I really like that little bump in focus speed and 50% increase in megapixels you get with the XE3. But it just doesn't feel as good. It doesn't have this nice kind of work craftsmanship that the X Pro series has. This is like a mini X Pro, really. Whereas the XE3 was going away from that, and the XE4 is definitely nothing like that. That's more like a Leica imitation camera, or more like an X100V imitation kind of camera. So the XE2 is the only left EVF camera I like. I will never be buying a Fuji camera ever again, because they're not going to change the ways, I don't think. I loved the XT3, don't get me wrong. I love Fuji. I love the film profiles. I've just bought the Cobalt film profiles today, and I'm delighted to say you can load up your RAW files from these Sony cameras, and you can put nostalgic negative and classic negative on there, and it looks awesome. I've not done side-by-side comparisons yet, but the Cobalt images, profiles, presets, whatever they're called, they are quality. So I'll probably do a big video about that, because I don't think there's many reviews about those once I've done some comparisons. So yeah, I'm happy with Sony. I like these lenses they've got. I don't really need any other lenses, but I do fancy the 90mm Sigma I series lens. That's a future option for people, especially guys moving from Fujifilm to Sony, because the I series from Sigma work on Sony full frame and Sony APSC E-mount. So even though these are full frame lenses, not these, but the ones that I'm talking about, the 90mm has an aperture ring on it. It's an f2.8, I think, and it's tiny. It's like one of these. It's amazingly small. It's like 290 grams again. And you compare that with Fuji's 90mm f2, and there's no comparison. It's probably half the price of the Fujifilm, probably much under half the size and weight of the Fujifilm. So there are more options with lenses. And recently, actually, Sony have released a couple of lenses. They are more video-oriented lenses, like vlogging stuff. But I'm into street photography. I rarely do video. I will probably use the 4K on this A6400, but really, I just want nice fast autofocus, a good grip. Another benefit is that this has I think it's weather sealed. I'm not 100%, but it's weather resistant anyway. This lens has some kind of rubber gasket or something on, so it's a little bit weather sealed. So I will feel more comfortable going in rain than I would with just a standard Fuji. This lens is just a plastic, definitely not sealed in any way whatsoever. I think this one might have some kind of weather resistance. The A6000 is not weather sealed or weather resistant in any way. The A6400 is. Whether you buy this or this, honestly, there's not a hell of a lot of difference in my opinion. They've both got the 24 megapixel sensor, and yeah, it's really focus speed is the main thing, and the colors are improved. But I don't use JPEGs. I like Fuji colors, and I use RAW exclusively, so the colors thing isn't a massive thing. Although I'm not sure if the RAWs are improved on the later Sonys, but they definitely improve the color science. Anyway, I think I'm rambling on a bit now, so that's it. Really, it comes down to one thing, and that's the viewfinder. 23mm eye point, you get to see the whole image. If you're wondering why you can't see the whole image on your Fujifilm, it's because they have such stingy eye points on everything except for the central EVF premium cameras. Got any questions? Add them below. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.